actually transformed into what he is today, a contributor to society, a very important person in the society, that actually is actually helping others, right? He's an advocate for the cause of others, development of others, mentally and otherwise, and that's critical. Myself as a psychologist, person would say, hey, we cannot get depressed, we cannot get stressed, but that's a myth because we are human beings too, and doctors are human beings too. Doctors get sick, and my guest will tell you about some of the challenges, even though he is a medical doctor, the addiction and so on. Hey, let's talk to him. Let's bring him into the studio and have a chit chat with Stephan.
Hello,
Stephan,
Canute.
how are you doing?
Thank you. Oh, I'm doing ever so well. Thank you very much, Canute, for putting this lovely platform up to talk about the challenges that we all face in daily life. And I'm so grateful to be a guest on your show. It is a true honor.
Thank you. Podcast yourself. It's an honor to have you. And Stephan Neff, right?
That is correct.
Wow,
That's
I keep
absolutely
getting
correct.
these names.
And you're quite right. You're quite right. Our times are very different. So actually, I come from the future. I am here the next day at 8 minutes past 10. So I'm talking
Wow.
to you from the future. Do 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 do.
Wow.
So,
You're on Saturday, right? And we're on
yep,
Friday.
that is right. And it's
I
cool.
wonder what's
And the
going on
Saturday.
Saturday.
Oh, look! At the moment, it's a beautiful day.
Okay.
Outside, we have got a tropical cyclone that is washing out about everything around me. But having said that, the town in which I live,
Okay.
if the north gets completely soaked and is underwater, we get 5 raindrops. And
That's
when
New
the
Zealand,
south,
right?
that's New Zealand. That's exactly right. And when the south gets parched in a drought, well, we get 5 raindrops. So I've chose my town very wisely. We're in the equivalent to Yellowstone. So we're
Right.
living in a caldera in an old volcano, which has its own microclimate, shall I say? So it's really
Right.
really good. So I am
Yeah.
actually very happy. I'm safe. Whatever you guys at the moment hear about flooding, etc., and cyclone damage, I'm lucky. I'm happy. I'm
Wow.
alive. And
Yeah.
I'm alive far more than ever I was in the past because
Right.
you quite rightly say it. We all get our challenges. Some of us have to learn the lessons the hard way. I was certainly one of them.
Yeah.
And here we are, the two of us now living a life which is full of intention and which is where we cherish every moment as a
Of
privilege
course.
and choose to use those moments to make this world a better place, either by writing a book or by coming onto a show, by hosting a
Yeah.
show, whatever it is. It is just such a
Amazing, right?
beautiful, oh, I love it, love it,
Yeah.
love it.
And
No,
interestingly, you talk about being in the future, and that grips me a bit because wow, here's a man I'm talking to who is in Saturday already, and I'm still in Friday, and on a different continent. It's amazing. Oh boy, it's amazing. I tell you. Hey, let me ask you, Stephan. Who is Stephan? Tell me who Stephan is.
who is Stephan? Oh, well, that's a question I'm still trying to figure it out. Who do I want to be when I grow up? I don't know yet.
Right.
I know who I was.
Okay.
I was a cocky idiot. I was a man, well, a boy who was born in 66 in Germany. The 80s were my time, and it was the time of Mel Gibson and Lethal Weapon, Bruce Willis. The heroes were more drunk and sort of the anti-heroes of their life. And I linked up with these anti-heroes quite a lot because there were no heroes in my life. My biological father, was a gambler, a drinker, a man who enjoyed life to the
Yeah.
fullest in all the wrong ways.
Yeah.
And then my stepdad was more or less the same. So I didn't have great role models. And those lessons that were imprinted on me at a very early stage were unfortunately not so helpful.
Right.
I.e., a man is a real man.
Yeah.
Man doesn't cry, all that shit.
Yeah.
So that unfortunately was to a certain degree my youth.
Mhm.
Then, when I was 13, I was unfortunately in the wrong place, wrong time, and became the victim of a gang assault.
Mhm.
And I survived. I was pretty bruised and battered, and went to the police. To cut the long story short, the
Mhm.
gang leader went behind bars,
Okay.
and he threatened to kill me as soon as he comes out.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, I've got 3 years to turn myself into Rambo.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. So I
Mhm.
started training martial arts,
Wow.
and became very good in it. So cool. But you can imagine that was 13. And I lived this life basically during the daytime studying for school, nighttime, 3-4 hours of workouts and training to be a ninja, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I did that for 5 years. So these were very dark years, dark years. With hindsight, PTSD was rip roar. I mean, it is wow. But no one actually spoke about it. No one gave a damn about the psychology.
Yeah.
So then I ended up being actually very good at school. So I could choose to go to university, which I did, studied medicine. And then in the first year in medicine, several things happened at the same time.
Mhm.
Firstly, I realized that this guy will never find me.
Mhm.
Number two, I discovered girls. And number three, I discovered alcohol. And
Okay.
alcohol was the very first, beautiful release of 5 years of tension.
Mm.
And I still remember to this day, I remember that afternoon in a beer garden, very beautiful in the summer. We were sitting on a huge oak tree, and two mates of mine, study mates there, we all had these big glasses of beer, a liter of beer. And when we say beer, you guys in America, you've got this beer flavored water. We have
Right.
got
Yeah.
beer, okay? So we are talking some decent stuff there.
Yeah.
And I must have had one of these Stein, one of these liters of beer, and suddenly the world became beautiful. And
Mm.
suddenly there was this release and this laughter. And I was giggling like a little girl. I was just laughing about this beautiful feeling of dopamine washing over me.
Mm.
Oh, man, I got goosebumps even now after how many decades. I still remember that feeling. This was pure love
Right.
coming out of that glass.
But
And I think,
Stefan, you heard about Red Stripe beer, right?
about what?
Red Stripe beer.
Red Stripe beer? No, I don't know Red Stripe beer.
Okay. Red Stripe beer it's brewed in Jamaica, right? It's a
Uh-huh.
Jamaican beer, right?
Uh-huh.
You can look it up eventually. So
Uh-huh.
I am from the home of Red Stripe beer, where I was born.
Uh-huh.
You are from Germany. It's a beer place.
You're so right. You're so right. So, this is when you go out to certain parts of Germany, when you go out with girls. I thought I
Yeah.
was, by the time I was 18, 20, I thought I had a good tolerance. I
Mhm.
went out with some girls there, and I'm sure they have been, instead of mothermilk, they had Altbier. Sort of, I'm sure they were brought up like that. They drank me under the table. They were laughing,
Right,
having a
right,
fun
right.
whilst I was staggering. You're right. So alcohol is quite ubiquitous in
Mhm.
in Germany,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a lovely culture. Let's not get it wrong. There are many positive sides in
Mhm.
the German society as far as alcohol is concerned.
Mhm.
The alcohol, however, that what alcohol meant for me, it was
Yeah,
it was the only emotional release that I ever experienced. It was the
yeah.
only coping mechanism
Mhm.
that was there for me. And I think that is really where I fell foul of it. So
Right,
alcohol initially was my best friend.
right.
And alcohol had so many positive aspects initially for me.
Mhm. Mhm.
I was probably a bit shy around the girls. I was
Yeah.
very
Mhm.
insecure,
Mhm.
those kind of things. Well, give me a few drinks, give me a
Yeah.
guitar. I
Yeah.
can't sing very well. I can't play very well, but hell, the girls come like moths to a flame. and it
Yeah.
was beautiful. It was, you know, it had alcohol had a lot of
Yeah.
effects on my body, positive effects. For
Right.
example, it was as far as an erection goes.
Yeah.
I at a certain level of alcohol, I could ask a girl, "How long would you like to make love? An
You,
hour,
you
two?"
think that alcohol is an aphrodisiac? That's what
It
you're saying?
was. It was at the start. Oh, hell yes. Hell yes.
Okay.
Hell yes. And it worked like a treat for me for quite a few years. But then, of course, comes the brewer's troop.
Yeah.
So then you've got the erectile dysfunction. That is most definitely the end result
Yeah.
of that, because
Right.
of all the hormonal changes that happen
Yeah.
in your body associated with it. So
Mhm.
initially, alcohol was a very good friend of mine, who
Mm.
then very much turned sour a decade
Wow.
later. But that is something we need to remember, because it's so easy to be hard on addicts, on alcoholics, when
Right.
really the use of a drug or the use of a certain behavior is the lesser of two evils.
Mhm.
And it is like a reprieve. It stops the pain that otherwise the addict is
Mhm.
suffering from. And
Mhm.
that is what we keep forgetting. No one says, "Ooh, that is beautiful. Poison. Let's just drink more of this poison. I know it will fuck up my liver. It will completely mess with my head. It will completely dissolve my bank account, my marriage, my
Yeah.
career.
It
But let's
does
just
that.
keep drinking."
Yeah.
No one does that. No,
Mhm.
but you feel it's either pleasure or pain. And we
Yeah.
always want
Yeah.
the pleasure. And in all fairness, our social engineering gives us this bloody pressure. It was there in the 80s. It's there even more so nowadays. We have to live this kind of saccharine, sweet Coca-Cola
Yeah.
advertisement all the time. Look at the social media. I'm sure there are girls who have only one side of the face because they always look,
Right.
"Oh, that's how they look. You never see the other side." And it is awful, absolute awful. And we have been doing that in the 80s without social media. We were just
Right.
as much
Mhm.
victims um, of this, yeah, social engineering. That's all I can
Right.
say.
But you
And
see,
it's
with this sort of ambivalence that alcohol has, right? Why is it that a number of persons, and I will get into your challenge with alcohol eventually, why is it that a number of persons continuously, if not continually, just become intoxicated, just keep going? If it has that ambivalence, then at one point you say, hey, this is bitter now, as you have said. It's no longer my friend. So let's stop.
yeah. Little problem there because people don't recognize it. About 95% of people who are drinking dangerously, if you were to ask them, "Are you an alcoholic? Are you in trouble?" They
Right.
hand on heart swear to you, "No, no way. John over there, now he is an alcoholic. Look at him. Me,
Right.
I'm just a social drinker." So
Right.
that is 95% have denial as a
Yeah.
key symptom. And that is something we need to recognize. For them, hand on heart, they keep this very, very beautiful abstract wall in front of them that
Mm-hmm.
sort of makes sense. They surround themselves with friends who drink as much as they
Okay.
do or
Mm-hmm.
even more.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's always everyone else around them is drinking, so therefore they
Yeah.
have the justification. Hey,
Yeah. That.
I'm drinking. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's
Yeah.
always the same. So there are little things,
Yeah.
and alcohol plays such a crucial part of their life. For example, you will not find people who don't drink make fun of alcohol.
Yeah.
So there are these many memes out there. Have you had breakfast? No, not a single drop. Or how do you call a meal without wine? Breakfast. These kind of things. There are jokes out there that people identify with,
Yeah.
which in reality, when you look at them, they're really kind of shouts for help. There
Mm.
are really these are hallmarks of people actually having a problem with alcohol. So it's intriguing. Alcohol
Yeah.
is certainly all the way around us, and we have to say that chemical addiction is so common. For
Mm.
all you listeners and viewers out there, we are
Yeah.
talking 1 in 3. 1 in 3 people, or if you're more conservative, okay, 1 in 4 people
Mm-hmm.
are affected by chemical addiction.
Yeah.
Now, if you say that each and every one of these people has at least one significant other,
Mm-hmm.
then that means that half of the population in the Western world is affected by chemical addiction. And that's a crazy number.
Yeah.
So if you guys out there, if you think, oh my God, he's really talking out of my soul, he really knows me, and you feel that guilt and shame that is so often part and parcel of addiction, no. Yes, okay, you might have done things that you're ashamed about. Fair call. We are often not so nice people when we are drunk or when we are using or when we are gambling, whatever your addiction is. That's fair call. But
Right.
at the same token, it is a disease, and it is a disease that is so common out there.
Right.
So if you're a young mum and you're hiding your alcohol and you're going to the PTA and you look around, oh, all the other women have got it, so nicely sorted.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Okay, 1 in 3. Look around, count them off, 1 in 3, and take a guess who is
Hey.
the addict. Okay,
And
so
Stephan, you said something, and while you're talking, I was thinking that a lot of the vice out there, the evils out there, right? Many of them are being condoned, right? And because they're being condoned, they will never stop. It's as if, okay, that's an evil, but it is being condoned. So it's okay to continue. And alcohol, I think, is one of them.
You're so right. You're absolutely right. This is my book, My Steps to Sobriety. And
Oh,
in there, I have got a chapter called The Heroin-Free Wedding. And it goes along the lines of mum and daughter are standing in the kitchen washing up, and daughter says, hey, look, mum, can I talk to you about my upcoming wedding? And mum says, yeah, let's talk wedding. And the daughter says, cool, oh, brilliant, I'm so pleased. Look, I've decided we have a heroin-free wedding. And mum says, what? Oh my God, are you addicted? I'm tell me more. And she said, no, I'm not addicted. I'm not using heroin. But I want your understanding that really I want a heroin-free wedding. And she said, you silly girl, of course we do a heroin-free wedding. And she gives a huge hug and everything is fine. And then the daughter continues and then says, well, actually, I've also decided I would like to have an alcohol-free wedding.
Okay.
you hear the blade dropping. You can't
that
do
is
that.
a no.
Exactly. You can't do that. And that's it. Why? Why? What's the difference? So it is, and that's the amazing thing. So we are conditioned by society that alcohol is such a part and parcel of it. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the multi-trillion-dollar industry that is out there to make us drink. For example, there was a beautiful, beautiful study which looked at the two major streaming television things, something like Netflix, Prime, these kind of things.
Right.
Looked at two of the big ones. And they took the most watched series, regardless what it was, and watched 1,000 hours. Now, that's a long time, but they watched 1,000 hours of both of these big streaming platforms. And then they looked at how many times alcohol was demonstrated, drunk, or positively displayed in those 1,000 hours.
Okay.
Every 3.5 minutes, someone is drinking.
Yeah.
Now, if you then look into the two different streaming platforms, it seems very strange that in one streaming platform, regardless where you go, regardless which kind of thing you're watching, all the heroes, all the cool people seem to like whiskey, and a special brand, whilst in the other platform, all people like a certain kind of beer, regardless which kind of show you're watching.
Right.
Now, if that doesn't tell you more... So we are continuously bombarded with advertisements that are there to make us drink. That is what they are there for. And people, very clever people, are being paid a lot of money.
Yeah, but Stephan, it's what the society, look, it is said that sex sells as well. So what happens is that you use things that the society feels good about to advertise products. And alcohol, it doesn't matter how much it costs, people will continue to buy alcohol. Why is that so?
Because it's very simple. It's again coming back to the pain and pleasure. The alcohol gives them something that they have not learned to obtain otherwise.
Right.
A feeling of temporary relief, an escape from their reality. It is something that is legally available. If they and you will find that need to escape reality, or that need to give you that pleasure, you will find it again and again and again. For example, I'm an alcoholic.
Right.
I'm also a workaholic. I'm also a number of other holics.
Okay.
So when I stopped drinking, then the very first thing I did, I had a sugar craziness. So sugar left, right, and center.
Okay.
So, and we call that cross addiction, because you're not dealing with the underlying problems. Your body just switches onto the next poison or the next behavior.
Okay.
That could be pornography. That could be sex addiction. That could be gambling. That could be crazy workouts.
Hold on, Stephan. I'm gonna break here because you touched something that is critical. You're implying that we all have an addiction.
1/3, I would say about 1/3 of us. Some of us, if you do functional MRI studies, if you look at how the brain lights up in response to certain things, some of us are super responders to dopamine. In other words, you give me a certain pressure, a certain press on the button, my dopamine goes higher than many others. That's the reason that I say, wow, this is good shit, I want more. Whilst other people say, oh, that's not a bad glass of wine, and then put the wine back down. I could have never done that.
Right.
What do you mean you put leftover wine? What's leftover wine? I don't know that. Okay. So the one glass was always the trigger to drink more and more and more. And there are so many other people out there as well. So because we are super responders to dopamine, we are getting that far more the bang for a buck initially. We always then hunt for that beautiful, beautiful feeling. And it never comes back. It never comes back. Once you have hit it once, oh wow. And you might then use another drug if you were so inclined or stupid enough, shall I say, let's say marijuana, or let's say, I don't know, cocaine. You get a buzz, but that buzz is never the same as the original first feeling.
We are educated enough. We heard a lot of things. And one of the things I have heard, I'm sure you heard that as well, that many addiction is basically the result of the aim to reach that high again, that first time I've done it and it was good, but it's just never come back. So you keep trying to find that. So,
and at some stage, you're causing damage, and then at some stage, all these hangovers. I mean, for crying out loud, you're then drinking to just make the hangover and the pain go away, rather than actually aiming for any particular good feeling. You're just trying to make the bad feelings not as bad.
Right.
So I think that is equally an evolution in the drug taking or in the dosing of alcohol, etc.
Yeah, you know, you're a medical doctor, right? You was, let me say, an alcoholic, right?
No, I am.
You are. Okay, all right. You're an alcoholic.
I am. You don't lose that label. You don't don't just go to 4 weeks to rehab and that's it. Done.
Right.
Finished.
I just been political.
My dopamine.
Political, you know.
Yeah, you're very respectful, and I take that. But let's be honest. Let's be honest. My I have learned some very skewed behavioral things up there. So my memory and my reward system have linked funny things in a funny way. So even on my deathbed, there will still be this little thought, oh, just a little glass of wine, or just something, whatever it is. Okay. That is unfortunately true.
There's a twist to a question I will answer later. But look, as a medical doctor, you came out and say, hey, this is what I am, right? Slash who I am. Oh, did you do that? What did you feel this? What we'd want to call this disconnect between what you have to do and your attitude towards it. But you have to say, I am that.
Yeah. That's actually the key to recovery. The first time you actually spell it out, it was the first day or the second day actually in rehab. First day was the getting in, and then the next morning I was in this room and there were people there, and everyone said, the new people in the room sort of said, hey, I'm Tom, I'm an alcoholic. Hey, I'm Nina, I'm an alcoholic. And then there was quiet, and I looked around and I knew it was my time. And so I stood up and said, I'm Stephan, I'm an alcoholic. And from that time, I mean, I don't know the next hour what happened, because I went through this roller coaster of emotions, this fact that I had admitted that I was in trouble. That was the first time I had publicly admitted to complete strangers that I was in trouble. And that was so bizarre, because addiction is a disease of hiding.
Okay.
I was hiding that I was hungover. I was hiding that I was buying alcohol. I was hiding the alcohol. I was hiding drinking alcohol. I was hiding that I was drunk. That is your fate as an alcoholic. And there I was, suddenly having spelled it out. There it was for everyone to see. And that was the breakthrough that I needed.
Oh.
For the next week, you couldn't stop me talking. But also I was a very resentful man. In all fairness, a lot of shit had happened to me. Maybe not so nice things, and maybe not so nice things where others were responsible. Especially one particular institution I was very angry about, and I let rip, because contractually you're forbidden to speak negative about employers, etc. So here in the safe bubble of rehab, I let rip. Everyone who wanted or not wanted to hear it, look what they have done to me. And it was beautiful. So that all came out. And then something magic happened, because my caseworker, she said, brilliant. Now you're so angry about this institution. I want you to write it all down. Okay, write me a letter tonight, and tomorrow we're going to go over that. And I wrote into the early hours of the morning until my fingers bled. And there I was the next day, ready with all this resentment and anger. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
And she took the papers and looked at them, and then folded it nicely, put it to the side, and said, brilliant. Thank you so much, Stephan. Now let's talk about you. And I said, but. No, let's talk about you. And I was so angry with her. And the reality was, she actually had nailed it, because my anger and my resentment were blinding me. And it is only days, weeks, months, years later that I realized how much potentially I have contributed to a scenario, rather than blaming everyone else around you for something. So I learned down the line the very valuable lesson that whatever happens, it is my fault.
Okay.
And not in this kind of cliche thing, but more the principle of extreme ownership. Jocko Willink, US Navy SEAL, has written a book about extreme ownership. And he says that if someone below you in rank in the military stuffs up, it's your fault. Did you give him the right training, the right expertise, the right commands, the right skills? If someone above you stuffs up, did you give that person the right information, the right support for him to make his call? And I loved that. I love that you are playing an active role. You're not this victim of circumstances. You have got the choice to act, whatever happens to you. And I think that is the biggest lesson I learned down the line. And nowadays, when I think about me, if you ask me who I am, I align myself with words such as intentional, authentic,
Yeah.
transparent,
Mm-hmm.
full of integrity,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things, that meant nothing to me. These were
Right.
cliches or platitudes in the past.
Right.
Nowadays, I live my life by these moral values.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I think, a direct consequence of me having gone through the darkness,
Yeah.
lived in the darkness for so long,
Mm-hmm.
and nowadays have stopped hiding, have stopped escaping my reality with the use of alcohol or other
Right.
behaviors, and have started to address the roots of those problems,
Yeah.
the trauma that has been there far, far more than I like to admit. A lot of shitty things have happened to me.
And
That
we're
was
going to
gang.
come to those things because it's
Shoot.
important as we go to the depression soon. But where do you talk about hiding? But where do you hide these liquors? You know, where's the best place to hide them? Because because you must. I try to be diplomatic about it and not
No,
not
no, no, no,
and
no,
not
no.
and
That
not
is
calling you an alcoholic. But
no. That was
you
the
said that
first
you
after
are. So where do you hide them?
the first afternoon in rehab. There were 3 other women and me were admitted into the rehab there, and we sat around
Yeah.
in a circle. And what do you talk? So immediately, sort of the questions came out. Well, what's your liver function like? Oh,
Right.
gamma GT 1,000. Oh, that's nothing. That's rookie numbers. And
Mhm.
where do you hide your alcohol? And it's these kind of weird discussions where you suddenly stop hiding and actually admit to what you're
Mhm.
doing.
Right.
And typically, everyone has had their typical things under the pillow, in
Really.
the bedside table, in the cleaning cabinet, all kind of places. My best one was I was renovating at the time,
Right.
and we put some recessed lights into the
Uh-huh.
ceiling, so I'd cut out the half
Oh.
the circles there, and there was all this sort of insulation there, so I put vodka bottles up there. And it was so bizarre because when I was then in rehab, my wife got some working men in to
Yeah,
finish
and
the lights, etc. So I went up there,
makes sense.
what the hell? That was this vodka. And it was just priceless.
Makes
So
sense.
and we do all that shit. We hide it. I poured it into ginger beer or into
Okay.
any kind of other things that have a strong smell. And I typically use vodka
Yeah, I
because
understand.
that gives you most bang for the buck. It's relatively clean alcohol, so not too many crappy things that you take in. And the smell is easy to hide. So
Right.
therefore vodka is the favorite of most people down the line.
You know,
Um,
we
huh?
talk about Germany being a beer place and
Yeah.
Jamaica with this red stripe beer.
Yeah.
Again, I want you to look that up. And
I will.
I went to Canada 2015, a place called Newfoundland, somewhere deep in Canada. And it's a beer place as well. And when you talk about being a beer place, anywhere you go, you can get beer, right? Naturally, well, I'm not a drinker. I'm what I call a social drinker, really. But I realize that there are different. I want to say scented beers because you know some sort of a flavor that you just didn't know about.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
and I'm saying this to ask you this question about alcohol speaking to us differently. I believe it does because some persons they will drink a lot, Stefan. You know, drink to be to the point of intoxication. However, they're not aggressive. They're
Ah.
calm. However, there are some other persons
Hmm.
who will be so aggressive, who will go home and tear the place down.
Yep.
What happened? Alcohol speaks to us differently.
Well, alcohol is is inhibiting things.
Right.
So alcohol is like an anesthetic, but
Mhm.
what it anesthetizes first is the inhibiting neurons. So it means the little filters that you have got that that make you adhere to the rules of society, etc.
Yeah. Yeah.
The moment you actually have a bit of beer into it, you get this Dutch courage, which means that you do things that otherwise you would have never done. So many war stories start with exactly that. You know, if 20 special forces soldiers in the Second World War storm a German castle and actually take this huge garrison over, well, it probably started with them having a few wine too many the night before and say, fuck it, we just go up there and take out the Germans.
Right.
So that true story. I read many of these books, and this Dutch courage is there. So there you are. So it takes away the inhibition that you have got, and it shows the person that at that moment is predominantly living in you. We all have got different people living in us. They're sort of the nice guy, the not so nice guy, and the one guy that you really don't want to meet. And unfortunately, sometimes that one guy is coming out. And unfortunately for me, I was that angry, resentful man because I did never deal with the trauma. I did never deal with the darkness. So therefore, the resentment and anger came out. And finally, the tears came out. I was a man who couldn't cry. I couldn't have an emotional release unless I was drunk. And, you know, how sick is that? How stupid is that?
You know,
I was conditioned wrong.
Right. You know, how do we use the word condition? How do we condition our youth, our children? Because why I'm asking this thing you talk about, that what we call in psychology, well, I'm a PhD really at this psychology thing. You have this human brake, you mentioned it, brake system. Hey, youth, children, teenagers / adolescents, it's something wrong with that brake system.
Yeah. No
so
shit.
they will drive fast, they will do things, they will take drugs, they will just think that they cannot die. Alcohol with that sort of behavior doubles the risk.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, because especially that you're saying the youths, there is some very good reason that some people say you should never allow alcohol less than 21. In actual fact, some of the addiction specialists recommend 25. If you start drinking heavily after 25, it's far less likely that you end up really what we would consider a dangerous drinker or an alcoholic, for the lack of a better word. So it is the youthful brain. If you start as a teenager, that's far more likely to hit you. In all fairness, alcohol didn't give me much in the first 18 years. It really, I explored it in depth. Really from 19 years onwards, and it hit me hard. So but I was a sitting duck. I mean, there is a genetic predisposition. So it's very clear there are some genes which make you more likely to have this exaggerated dopamine response. So I was a sitting duck because if I look back in my family, alcohol played a big role in both sides of the family. So it is what it is. Having said that, my children equally have the same genes. Yet my children have seen me at my worst, and they have seen me transforming. They have seen me become a better man. They have seen me using all kind of tricks and techniques to actually deal with the difficult things in life. So there is a lot of nurture there. So while nature plays a role, nurture is so much more important. So therefore, if you guys out there are listening to that and thinking, "Oh my God, there's so much alcohol in my family. There's no chance. What chance do I have?" Your chance is huge if you actually focus on the privilege of choice, the privilege of making informed decisions every moment in your life. As an alcoholic, I either work on my relapse or I work on my recovery. In mental health, I either work on having the best day ever or I work on having the worst day ever. It's my choice. It's my actions that will drive me one way or the other. And this is the power of intentional living. I can choose to rehydrate myself here, or I can choose to run around dry like a crisp.
Yeah.
And when it comes to alcohol, to triggers, there is a thing called halt in German.
Yeah.
So hungry, angry, lonely, tired. So for me, in the first year after stopping drinking, my goodness, if I was hungry, if I was angry because something had happened at work, if I was tired, which was quite a common combination, hey, I could imagine a wine. If I was then feeling lonely and abandoned because something else has happened, well, give me the 4 of them, and I could see this crystal glass with this beautiful amber liquid with the condensation running on the outside. That is what happens. So,
and you know, Stephan, I'm going to let you continue that, because it brought that's crept into my next question, right? So I'm going to make you continue that. And because my next question was, you had talked about, you know about this thing as it relates to, well, your book, your steps to sobriety, but the 12 steps of AA, right, are only a part of your book. I believe you are suggesting some other system that you have been using. I'd love you to continue that.
The 12 steps are beautiful. The 12 steps are actually something that really, really works. And my recovery was based on the 12-step system. And the problem with the 12 steps is that it is too often considered something very religious or something. There are a lot of prejudices amongst people, maybe based upon Hollywood films, maybe based upon whatever it is, where people get shy of it. Not many of us are nowadays Christians, so therefore, if they automatically think, "Oh my God, they will ram religion down my throat," they will. That might be a big hurdle. And for me, it became clear in recovery that is actually not the case. Whilst the 12-step system was created in 1930s in the United States, and whilst there is God and religion plays a strong role in the original 12-step system, you have to say that actually the guy who really was at the core of it was not religious at all, but he was a good salesman. He figured out that, well, everyone is talking about God, so let's put God in there, and then that'll sort it out. That will give us a better traction.
Before you come to your system, let me say something on that. I as a psychologist / psychotherapist, I was involved in a group training, facilitation. Persons who are substance abusers, alcohol in particular. And I was to go through that 12 steps thing with them. And you're right, it has a religious flavor to it. And most of these persons were not religious. Yeah? And it was very difficult for them to absorb this 12-step thing. So you are correct.
Yeah.
Just say that.
So let's forget God for a moment.
Right.
I'm an agnostic. I do not believe in a deity of sorts. But I believe in good and bad. So maybe call me a humanist if you wanted to. So I think what we could imagine is that you are that you own a restaurant, and your best friend has got a restaurant too. So in your restaurant, heaps and heaps of customers, everyone is happy, the money is flowing out of the till. Beautiful. Your friend is completely barren. There are little tumbleweeds rolling through the restaurant.
Right.
No one goes there. And your friend one day gives you a ring and says, "Oh man, I don't know what is going on. Could you give me a hand? You seem to be, your restaurant works, mine doesn't. I can't figure it out." What would you do? Well, you would probably go there and give him a hand. What would I do? I would probably go there. I would sit down, order a few dishes from the menu. And whilst I'm waiting for the food, I'm looking around, observing, getting an idea what's going on. Then tasting the menu, see what's there. if I like it or not. And then I'll probably go behind the scenes, check his kitchen out, check out his ordering, check out what is being bought, what not, what does he keep in stock. So do a proper inventory to
Right.
really look at under every stone, and nothing gets untouched. Then probably we find dishes on the menu that are rarely ordered and that basically are hemorrhaging money because all this stuff goes off. And maybe things that no one wants really. Maybe the front of the house need a bloody good workover and new curtains or new look. And maybe his staff needs training. Maybe he can find a new supplier of more local produce that gives him a head start. Those kind of things. So you figure out what works, what doesn't work.
Right.
You get rid of the stuff that doesn't work and strengthen the stuff that does work. Then down the line, once you have actually got a plan in place, you probably have to go out to your customers and say, hey guys, still the same management, but a new vibe. So you basically say, hey guys, thank you so much for being loyal to. That's right. Thank you for being loyal, and thanks for your loyalty, because you're coming back to us. 30% off your first dinner bill, or free drinks on us when you come back to us. So you're making amends to those people out there. And then down the line, you actually keep monitoring, you keep seeing what is happening. Your friend will think, wow, this is actually working. So you'll probably put a quality assurance program in place. And further down the line, a year down the line, both of your restaurants are booming. And your friend has had such a beautiful transformation, such a beautiful change at heart, that he says, wow, this is so cool. I'll do the same as you did to me. So every Tuesday morning, I have a breakfast for people who are struggling with their restaurants, and where we can come together and give back to society. What I described to you is a very logical, stepwise approach, how you would deal with a failing business. Well, that's exactly a 12-step program. I've just taken God out and put modern terms in it. And I think that is the key. Once you actually accept that there is a certain logical stepwise approach to dealing with a problem, dealing with a failing business. In this case, the failing business is you. Well, the same approach applies. And I think that is so key. We need to modernize our approach to the 12 steps and bring them out as something that is a very logical progression. But we should not forget that there are other ways of that too, because there is science is making leaps and bounces in regards to our understanding of the brain, etc. So therefore, there are other systems out there that are equally beneficial and might help you as well. So therefore, I'm saying the 12 steps is one beautiful program when it is utilized in a modern way. Indeed. And then add in the more scientific approaches. Add in maybe a spiritual component more, if that is something that this person requires or gels with in a better way.
Hey, Stephan, I want to talk about your mental challenge. We have a few minutes, but I have to get into it. You were a mental health patient. You are straightforward. You're transparent. That's who you are. You talk the things that I would say in Jamaica, right? What happened? Talk to us about those mental health challenges and how you have transformed. I'd love to hear.
Well, the mental challenges, you need to deal with life. Most of us are running away from life. And I think it is one of these things that we need to accept. Life is not a bed of roses. Life is not this Coca-Cola advertisement. Life is misery. Life is pain. Life is tears. Life is hardship. And unfortunately, that is the world. I mean, if you must have lived under a stone, if not the last 2-3 years have shown you that, with COVID, with the doomsday clock now being 10 seconds further closer to midnight, we are living under enormous pressures, and many of these pressures caused by ourselves. So we could try to say, oh, well, it's what can I do? Who am I? Give me a drink. Pour me another one. That kind of thing. Or you could say, well, actually, no, I can't do anything about Putin unless you are in the in the right alphabet soup group in a government somewhere. Then maybe do something about him. But you can maybe do something about looking after your family. You can be frustrated about vegetable prices, or you could actually put a garden into your lawn. Okay, it doesn't need to be a well-striped lawn. It can be bloody hell raised garden beds. And if you're in a colder climate, well, build a glass house or a warm house and grow some food. If you say you're angry about people, well, that's cool. What people are those? If you're angry about them, can you do something about them? So maybe is it something, are they just giving you criticism that might actually be deserved? Okay, maybe you are a shit leader. Maybe you need to pull your socks up. And maybe the way that they're angry about you is maybe justified. If it is not justified, figure out how can you support them. Is there maybe something very simple you can do to help that person being less angry and therefore having less flow and effect on you? It's all these kind of things. Ask yourself different questions. Challenge yourself to do the right things when no one is watching. These are the challenges that make you grow. Learn a new something, a new skill. I try to learn a new skill every 3 months. Does that mean you want to learn juggling? Maybe learn how to dance the tango. Maybe do a course on public speaking. Maybe learn about accounting. Maybe do some budget the first time in your life. All those kind of things. You learn. With every single thing you learn, you grow. You therefore become more resilient to the rubbish that happens around you.
And Depression Lied to Me. That's a book that you had written. That's interesting. And I read something about females who are involved in this book. I like that. I like that topic.
Absolutely. Depression Lied to Me, and it is so beautiful. It is. I brought 14 storytellers, female storytellers together, who told me about their experience with depression. And ultimately, these are people of all walks of life, of all colors of the skin. It's beautiful, and they all describe their experience with depression. And when you read it, you often see the same lies coming through, the same bullshit we tell ourselves, or the disease is telling us, you're worthless. It's hopeless. There is no one could possibly understand you. There is no help out there. You might as well keep drinking or keep hiding in your bed. And it's all that rubbish. And when you then actually are out of it and you're coming out the other end, you look back and you think, my God. And that is often where people like you and me are out there and are so outspoken. Many of the people nowadays I work together with, or I link up with because they're guests on my show, or I do other projects with them. These are people who have been in the darkness and know about the lies that we tell ourselves, and are now convinced that they can help others by living a life full of joy and full of integrity, authenticity. We know ourselves so much better after having gone through the darkness. We know that there will be days that are not nice. There will be days where maybe I want to curl up in a ball and just don't want to see anyone. And that's okay. I have learned that this is okay to say no. I've learned that it is okay to listen to my body, because often enough, the depression is a message from your body. It is that you have burned the candle too long on both ends and in the middle on a few places. Okay, it is nuts. You cannot live lives like that.
I want to... Go ahead.
I see that again and again when it comes in my job as an anaesthetist. So I help people to go through the trauma of surgery, make them as pain-free as I can, etc. But it doesn't stop there. These people come and they are typically our age group,
Yeah.
and they now have worked for the last 30 years flat out, work, 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 and now suddenly their shoulder is busted. And they know now for 6 weeks they're going to be in a sling, and then for 6 weeks they have to learn how to use the arm again. That's
Right.
3 months, and they have never stopped. They have not stopped for 2 weeks holiday, and now suddenly their life completely upends, and they're terrified. And it is so beautiful when you then actually hold a mirror in front of their face and says, "Okay, maybe it's a beautiful time now to get off your hamster wheel and stop running." And
Yeah.
actually think, who do you want to be when you grow up?
Stephan.
And that is,
Yeah, it's nice talking to you. It's so much to talk about. I enjoyed this episode so much, and tell us where you find your books, where you find you.
right. Guys, head over to mystepstosobriety.com, all written in one word, mystepstosobriety.com. That's the hub from which you can see what I'm up to, the books that I have got, the show that I'm doing, which is equally called Steps to Sobriety. My current challenge this year of turning myself at age 56, working a stressful full-time job, into from 144 kilogram, 320 pounds into 99 kilogram Adonis. And we were saying earlier, sex sells. So maybe I'm just taking my shirt very slowly off. maybe that gets us more viewers.
You might just get an American bride.
So guys, head over to mystepstosobriety.com, and I love to see you there. And maybe if you have a story to tell, maybe you're a good fit for my show. So life is too short. Guys out there, live with passion. And well done to listening to Canute and me rabbiting on. Canute, you're a great man. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Stephan. You're welcome. All right, bye-bye. Talk again. That was Stephan. You heard him. It's a really fun guy. And go to his website. My Stephan, sobriety.com. Go to his website and talk to him. You will see the link for his website in this description, and also his Instagram. Follow him, right? Guys, it was a great talk, and Canute exploration, your topic in a podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk again. Goodbye.